UIC.
Freedom and people of need.
Hell yeah.
Freedom and people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom and people of want. Freedom and people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom and people of want. Freedom and people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom and people of want. Freedom and people of need. Yeah,
Yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. That when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. Yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson, President. Happy to be here with you this evening to talk about another very interesting topic. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the CBDC. Yes, we're going to be talking about the CBDC. In fact, we're going to be talking about what I like to call the age of digital slavery. And I want to point out to you what the trick is in the current narrative that they're, putting out there about the CBDC, which is the central bank digital currency. So this evening we're going to explore what is the CBDC, or central bank digital currency, and how will it affect you, your family, and your country. I hope to help you to understand and to see the trick and take actions to protect yourself from what the global oligarchs are trying to do to all of us. And they're doing this through our puppet and parrot government. It's very important that we not take any of these things at face value, but that we actually study carefully what is being done, parse out all the pieces, analyze the statements, look at exactly what the implications are for each of these supposed improvements that they're trying to make in our lives. So once again, good evening to all of you. Thank you for being on the program. I see quite a few persons here already. So I'm just going to dive into the topic. And I want to look first of all at a video I shared on Facebook earlier today. Some of you might have seen it on UIC Jamaica page and also on UIC Jamaica group. These are both on Facebook, where I titled it, Don't Say You Were Not Warned. You might have recalled seeing the current finance minister kind of playing with the song, Don't Say I Never Did I Warn You. And you see also the opposition leader playing along as they do the usual gimmicks and antics in Parliament while they play with the lives of the Jamaican people and joke around, with our lives. So again, good evening and welcome, everyone. But what is happening right now with the CBDC is exactly what I've been talking about for the last 10 years, as I try to explain to people where the world was heading. The direction of the world has been set for some time, and there's a concerted effort on the way to get us to a point where those who long for the days of slavery will once again be able to see that they have full control over the lives of people. And so I want us to understand that this is not a game. This is not politics as usual. This is not, where we play the games and we have the gimmicks and we think that, it will just pass. This is not going to pass unless we do something about it in a very focused way, in a very militant way, in a very direct way. Because those who are intending on taking away our rights and freedoms, they're very serious about it, and they have the means to do it. They have the access to money, they have the control of our government, and we, the people, are going to have to be the ones who step up and stop them. Clearly, wonderful person like me, they're going to just quickly, push me aside or step on me. So it's very important that we join hands together. Instead of the logo that we have here for the UIC, very important that we join hands together very, very quickly and defend our personal rights and freedom. Yes, they're working overtime to, do as much as they can to take away as much of our freedoms as possible. I'm going to play that video again, and then I'm going to have some comments on it, and then I'll try to take some questions. It's about 10 minutes, I think, the video is. It will do a much better job than me of just, capturing all the basic elements. Then I want to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty with you on the subject. And it is really important, as I said before, for you to understand this CBDC. They'll use nice words. They'll talk about financial inclusion. They will say it's going to make your life easier, and they're going to even offer you bribes. They're going to offer you bribes to say, here's some incentives to do it. What they're not telling you is where this is going to end up. What's going to be the consequences of you joining in this digital currency game that they're playing. So let's take a look at the video now, and then we're going to talk about it some more, and I'll take some questions and tell you what the UIC's position is on currency and money and your rights and freedoms within that context as well. So let's have a look at the video now. I'm going to play it straight from I think I'm going to use from Facebook here and let you see it from there. So let's do that now. Let me just bring that in and take a look and tell me what you think in the comment box as we go. Here it goes.
The UK is currently the head of G7 group. That's the world's most economically advanced countries. And the UK currently chairs the G7 group. Our Chancellor, who does our economy, called Chancellor of the Exchequer, his name's Rishi Sunak. He put out this video saying that what they want to do is bring in this thing called the central banking digital currency. They want to replace fiat paper money with digital money as a competitor to Bitcoin and crypto money, right? But instead of being decentralized currency, it will be controlled by a government. It's digital currency, but controlled centrally through the banks, Bank of England. So instead of having a bank account with whatever, HSBC or Bank of America, you'll have a bank account directly with, in the American context, with the Fed. In the UK, directly with the Bank of England. You have a personal bank account, and you're given digital money in that bank account. These are called central banking digital currencies. The Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK has already announced their intention to do this as the G7 group. And these, if you look up...
this sounds terrifying.
If you look up the Telegraph newspaper...
Central bank digital currency, is that the one down below?
Digital currency should be programmable. See that one there? Yeah? Now what they're doing is they're saying, everyone knows that with inflation at over 5%, it's now 5.4%, right? Our fiat money, the paper money, is increasingly becoming worthless, and we're headed towards a big disaster. The Fed wants to raise interest rates. But we're in so much debt that if you raise interest rates, people are going to suffer because we're living on debt as Western economies. So they realize that this kind of the lifespan of paper money is fast coming to an end because of the 2008 economic crash in particular. So they're bringing in these central banking digital currencies. Why is that word programmable in there? So what they said in that article, and the Chancellor put a video out saying this as well, they've said that this money that you will earn from work, instead of having paper money, you have this digital money. It's programmable so that you can't buy certain foods or if you do something that your employer doesn't like, it's all in that article. You won't be able to spend your money. In other words, it's not money. They're vouchers. They're like food vouchers. And they can be programmed so that, like the Chinese social credit system, that if you try and use them on a certain thing, it won't work. You say you want to buy a burger and they want you to buy bugs, which is one of the examples used. If you start to try and buy unhealthy meat, it just won't work. You tap your card, you can't buy the thing because you've met your quota that month of burgers. You have to buy something like a vegan meal.
So it won't just be money in the sense of the way we have dollars or pounds today.
Yeah.
It'll be something that's controlled in terms of your ability to distribute it.
Which is why I'm calling it a voucher. It's a coupon.
But even a coupon, if you have a coupon to buy bread, you can still buy the bread. Like, there's
But you can't buy, see, that coupon to buy bread, what you can't do is buy a burger with that coupon. It's for bread.
Right.
Yeah?
Right. Do you feel like you're sounding the alarm
Yes.
for people that don't understand what is going on?
So here, I'll pull it up for you here, yeah? So there's the video.
The group of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7, is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote.
Right, so that's the guy who runs our economy in the UK. His name's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And here is the article. Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming, yeah? And here's a quote from the article. Digital cash could be programmed to ensure it is only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible.
Holy shit.
I'm going to take it one step further for you, Joe, right? So the checkpoint Charlie exists everywhere. They bring in digital banking, central banking digital currencies. You've got a scenario now that you're checking in and out everywhere you go using vouchers that are programmed and you can only spend where you're told you can spend them. There's another word for that, man. That's called the Chinese social credit system. So what they are telling us, and when I say they, who's they? People in power. That's the head of our economy, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, second most powerful person other than the Prime Minister and maybe the Foreign Secretary in the UK, right? He's telling us, I just played it there for you. He's telling us that's what he, as the UK, the head of the G7, want to bring in for the G7. And if I'm speaking to you the way I'm speaking now, and my employer or government, you heard that in the quote directly, yeah, deems me as saying or doing something inappropriate, suddenly I can't actually pay to come here and speak to you anymore. My digital currency won't even pay for the ticket because it will be known that I'm coming to speak to you. Sorry, your vouchers don't allow you to purchase that ticket to go and speak to Joe.
And this is where we get into the kind of censorship that we see in social media that is not, you can't have that kind of censorship with the First Amendment in normal discourse. But you can have that kind of censorship if you've developed a digital platform that distributes information, but it's a private company.
Yeah.
So think about what money is, where you can spend it on whatever you want, versus this digital currency, which is essentially controlled in a sense.
Yeah.
Like you have free speech on Twitter, but you really don't.
Yeah.
Because if you go too far or you talk about something that they don't find appropriate, they'll just ban your account. That could be what we're looking at in terms of what we think of as free speech being social media platforms could be what we think of as your free range ability to buy whatever you want with whatever money that you've earned.
So what's going on here, right? What's going on here is with this central banking digital currency, if you get to that situation where you end up with the Chinese social credit system in the West, why would anyone want to do that, right? I believe we're in a moment of the Gutenberg press. Go back to when the printing press was invented. Technology disrupts power structures. It always has. Printing and its invention was a new technology. What happened when they invented the printing press? The power structures who up until that point were reading the Bible for you and were telling you that you've got to pay this priest X amount of favors and he'll forgive you your sins. And that became a bribery system, right? Which is what Martin Luther was so upset about when he pinned his thesis to the wall. The printing press disrupted that power dynamic because people could read the Bible for themselves. And they began realizing that the power structures were manipulating what was written to control people. Now, nobody in hindsight is going to argue that printing and its invention is a bad thing for humanity. But at the time, it led to war. It led to the 30 Years' War in Europe. Because it disrupted power so much that people began rising up, and it led to this 30-year period of war, which eventually led to the Reformation, and the rest is history, right? What's today's Gutenberg press? The internet. The decentralization of information, and then because of that, the decentralization of currency in the form of crypto is disrupting power. Because the way that after the revolution of the Reformation and the printing press, control was still possible, though obviously not to that level, which is why we no longer have those absolute monarchies. But control in a nation-state context was still possible to an extent because the money supply was controlled. Now what's happening is that the invention of the internet, with the decentralization of information, and in particular here the decentralization of currency in the form of cryptocurrencies, is disrupting those power hierarchies, and it's leading to this conflict now. And we're in a moment when the printing press was invented, the powers that be needed to try and hold on to that power as the 30 Years' War kicked off. They eventually lost it, but to hold on to it they became very brutal because they were losing their grip on power. Today, to have the infrastructure in place that you can have a checkpoint Charlie society, so that when the central banking digital currencies are in place, that infrastructure is already there because people were so scared they voluntarily allowed you to put that in place, so that you can maintain your grip on power, because what's coming around the corner is the decentralization of everything, of media, therefore of narrative, and of course remember, whoever defines the truth gets to define reality. Decentralization of the economy through crypto. You no longer have the power to define the story and control the money supply. So the powers that be, who are losing that power, need to clamp down. They're clamping down on their own children, because we are people who are born of the West. So it's an internal civil war in a hybrid war context over truth and over information. Centralization versus decentralization. It's no longer about left or right. It's about up versus down. It's about power versus those who don't have power.
Do you think if there was no cryptocurrency, if there was no Bitcoin or any of the other crypto coins, that they would attempt to do some sort of digital currency? Do you think that this is a response to the understanding that that decentralized digital currency is eventually going to take over, or has gained far more momentum than they ever anticipated?
I think so. And also decentralized media, because you can't control the narrative.
Right.
Now, we will get out of this because ultimately it's a numbers game. And ultimately, in times like this, you end up fighting against your own sons, right? It's those in power fighting their own people. And eventually, the people up by sheer numbers, end up becoming the people in power, right? So in the long run, we may well end up in a decentralized world, which will be much better. But as I say, that to get there, we have to get through this period of those in power attempting to hold on to that power.
Okay, so there you saw it. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with what you have just heard, or do you have a different view on the subject matter? For me, it's very simple. We
right
are.
now, what's come to what I'm seeing going on in this country right now?
Oh,
This
one
government
second
gonna
here.
give you water, gonna give you light, gonna give you road.
1 second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it is indeed a trap, and it's a very sophisticated trap, and it didn't start just the other day. If you go on the BOJ website, you will notice that the government has been working on this in earnest during 2020. So when all of us were distracted by the so-called pandemic crisis, the government was very busy, not working on protecting our lives and our livelihoods, as they say, but they were very busy planning the transition of the BOJ from being a government entity to being an independent entity, which is controlled by the private banking cartel. They were also busy transferring our money away from us into that scheme, and they were busy planning to introduce this so-called central bank digital currency with the aim of getting Jamaicans to buy into it at this point in time. And it has been working quite well, with a few minor disruptions caused by the UIC's intervention in the affairs that they were trying to pass on. But let's look at this currency closely. The CBDC is a digital version of currency that is programmable. You heard that in the presentation. It is programmable. And programmable means it allows the government to track, permit, or deny any transactions you may wish to make. This is key. This is very important. The CBDC, or central bank digital currency, is simply a digital version of the currency that you currently now have, but it's going to be more tightly held and controlled by the government and a small number of banks that it will give permissions to offer you access to this platform. And then the government itself will be able, working through maybe third-party manipulators, to program this currency to behave in ways that the government thinks fit. So as you saw in the presentation a while ago, if the government thinks that you should not be able to buy this or buy that, or if it wants to lock off a certain set of persons, let's say there are protesters who are protesting, and the government wants to control them, it can, for example, turn off their access to money very easily, because that's the beauty of technology. The digital world we have today makes it much easier to turn on and off access to, in this case, your currency, your hard-earned currency in your own account. They can also simply shut down the entire system, and nobody will be able to do any normal transactions as they otherwise would. In fact, this CBDC will allow the government to easily allow or disallow your participation in the economy based on how well you comply with the government's dictates. So if the government says you should go to an injection site and take a particular injection by a particular date, and you did not show up, your ID wasn't recorded that you showed up and you have done what they say, then one of the means by which they can control you is just to turn off your access to your money until you comply. Now, for most of us, any action like that is going to be quite crippling. You can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your auto insurance or vehicle loan payment, you can't send your kids to school, give them lunch money, you can't pay your light bill and water, you can't go grocery shopping. So what are you going to do? It's going to be much easier to get you to go to that injection site and take the injection, because you have lost your means of being able to be an independent human being. So this CBDC is being introduced, first of all, as a nice, easy, and convenient way to transact business, or to save money, or to invest. But over time, it will become a tool that's an absolute control over your economy and over your life. It will be a powerful tool in the hands of a few people who will be able to decide what you will or will not be allowed to do. But that's not the way it's being introduced. The way they're introducing it is to say, look, it's going to make your life easier. It's going to be more convenient. And, anybody can get it. You don't need to go through the long, laborious process of trying to get a bank account. That's so painful, so tedious. Here's a simple way. All you have to do is to give your name, your address, your TRN number, and a government piece of ID, such as your passport, and voila, you will have it, and you can do business and transactions with anyone, anywhere, easily. No more trouble. And all the people who are unbanked or underbanked will now be able to easily get in the economy, and life will be great. And then, while you're comfortable and thinking that's the case, you suddenly hear that, okay, now the dragon will raise its head. The sheep-like tendencies are now gone. The nice, fluffy, sweet-sounding words will transform in the same way you saw the Prime Minister transform during the crisis the fabricated crisis that we had recently, and you see him transform into a monster and wanting to, you know, just pound the Jamaican people into doing exactly what he says we should do, because he's God and he has spoken and we should just act. So that's really what's going to play out here. Now, I want you to remember what slavery is. Slavery is a system whereby you lose control over your life to a master who then controls and decides your economy. They decide your health care, they decide your housing, they decide your choices. It's what I'm getting at here. Sounds very much like communism, doesn't it? Well, in fact, communism is slavery. It is the people becoming the slaves of the government, thinking that they're creating this nice utopia of a beautiful community where everything is owned by the community. No such thing. There's never been any society that works or functions very well where you claim that everybody owns everything. You ever look at a park outside and say it's a community park and the community must take care of it? It will be horrible. It will be overgrown, poorly maintained, and poorly managed. It's either must be owned outright by individuals, or it must be a public property, which then must be managed properly from taxpayers' money to take care of it. But you can't leave it up to the community to just own it. Now, slavery is a system where you just lose control over your choices. Somebody else gets to choose everything for you. And that new master in the digital slavery economy, the new master or the front man is the government. And behind the government are the oligarchs, those who really are in control. In Jamaica, that's the PSOJ Organization of Jamaica, and more specifically, the elites at the top of that organization, the very big companies that are a part of that, like the NCBs and the Grace Kennedys, the big companies, the ones that can contribute the $30 million to the party, for them to be able to come out at election time and trick you into voting for one or the other. So right now, the aim, the goal, the direction that we're heading in is for the government to have absolute control over your money. It currently has control over your money already, but it's a weakened control because of the limitations that it had before. It does not have the power right now that a fully digitized money will give the government. So right now it's a weak control, still a control, a very costly one, because government controls your money, the value is going, you're always losing value in your money because they're devaluing the currency by not allowing it to be fully backed by productivity, but rather they just keep borrowing money, injecting it into the economy and eroding the value of your money instead of building a robust economy that actually allows the money supply to grow with our productive capacity, thereby maintaining your purchasing power. So they're not doing that. So now they're going to have an even more powerful tool, because when you have digital money, it means government can create money at will very, very easily and not with good intentions. Normally it's being done with nefarious intentions to make the government look good while undermining your actual purchasing power. So look at where we are today. Our government has control of our education system, so it can make us all dumb. It has control of our healthcare system, so it can force one set of medication and one set of medicine or medical practice on you. It controls the housing stock for the most part in a very indirect way by making us poor and using the NHT, forcing us to contribute to it, then giving us the standards it wants and controlling us through that. It controls a lot of our other choices through various forms of regulations. But the ultimate form of control is when anybody, whether it's a government or another human being, somebody somewhere, now will have full control over your money, full control, right down to the point of your choice. It is one thing to have control of the macro money supply, but now to have control not only at the macro level, but at the micro level, at the point of transaction, through programmable money, which is called central bank digital currency. the government will now be in a very, very envious position. I mean, those dictators of the past will be envious if they were alive today to see the power that government is now going to have to be able to rule over you and me. It is going to be phenomenal, phenomenal. The way that, just imagine a Andrew Holness with the power to turn on and off your access to money, or to dictate what you may buy or not buy with your money. Or, if they're just not happy with you, because let's say you're a political opponent like myself, they can simply say, you know what, let's frustrate the hell out of him by playing with his access to money. They're going to be able to have a lock on this country. And no matter how miserable they make your life, they will have full control and limited little or no opposition, because they'll be able to crush any opposition almost immediately. If today they were able to take away all of my access to money, I'm finished. I couldn't even pay my internet bill to be able to talk to you via the internet, right? I couldn't go on a function. I couldn't put gas in my vehicle to go out. If I had a mortgage, I couldn't pay my mortgage. The bank would come and foreclose on me. So we're talking about a very dangerous situation here, very, very dangerous, right? So what I just described for you, slavery, and say it's where you lose control over your economy, over your health, over your housing, over your choices, over your life, over your family. That's where we're heading. So digital slavery is when the same control over you as in chattel slavery is accomplished by digitizing our lives and centralizing the controls in the hands of a few oligarchs. And so that's what's happening right now. They're digitizing our lives and then centralizing that control. So soon you won't be able to hear from me anymore, because you're going to say what he's spreading is misinformation. Yeah. They're going to say Joseph L. Patterson, the UIC organization, is spreading misinformation. What is misinformation? Misinformation is any information which is contrary to the narrative which the central powers wish for us to hear. Do you hear communism here? Do you hear dictatorship here? Do you hear totalitarianism here? Because that's what's happening. That's where we're heading. We are heading straight into the pit of hell in terms of all of our freedoms as we know them. By the way, you'll be free. You'll be free just as long as you do as you're told. So you'll be free to do what they say you can do. Otherwise, you've lost your freedom. So this new age, which I call the age of digital slavery, is where a few people working through a puppet and parrot that we call government, a few oligarchs that are controlling our economy from behind the scenes, will have total control over you and me by virtue of a digital currency which is centralized in the hands of a few, so that they can dictate your movements, your actions. They can turn off they won't listen. Where we're heading, they will turn off your ability to travel. Right? They'll say, you need to have a QR code that indicates that you are an upstanding citizen by their standard. What is an upstanding citizen? Just recently, an upstanding citizen is one who has taken the injection. If you refuse to take the injection, you're a bad citizen. Just because you have decided that you don't want to take the injection. So they would say, okay, bad person, take away his or her access to money, access to travel. So when you hear the UIC talking about these key things, freedom of speech, this is not just a nice statement. This is serious. Right now, our freedom of speech is fully threatened on all the major platforms, whether it is YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or anywhere, WhatsApp. they are getting to the place where they're going to have a list of things. If you use certain words, you're going to be flagged. We saw the testing of that already during the last few years. And they'll tag you, then they will eventually shut you off, and you can't speak. Now, just think, what kind of a society, society we will have where, simply because you are not echoing the narrative of a central authority, you become a bad person, and you're labeled a bad person, and you're muzzled. Yeah, you're censored. You can't speak because you're not repeating the narrative given to you by the central authorities through the government agencies, through the mainstream media that is controlled by the oligarchs, and they're all working in concert. The government, the big social media companies, the big food distribution companies, the big pharmaceutical companies, the big banks, all working together to put forward one idea, one ideology, one direction, and anyone who goes against that is labeled as dispelling or rather sharing or propagating misinformation, and as such, those persons need to be shut down. That's where we're heading. And notice what they're doing. They're centralizing commerce. They're centralizing trade. So they're doing everything to make it harder and harder for you to own and operate a small business. They're going to crush you out of every single market. That's where they're heading. They're going to make it so difficult for you to have a small or medium enterprise or even a micro enterprise. And they're going to entice you to look forward to a universal basic income, where they now dictate, here's your basic income, but for you to get this basic income, you need to have a NIDS card, the one that we describe. If you don't have it, you can, we'll see what we can do for you, but we'll make it very difficult for you. So you need to go get your NIDS card if you want things to be easy for you. You need to get your CBDC wallet to get your money coming to you in this wallet that the government controls. And then they'll decide what can you buy with that money. No, you're not allowed to buy this, or you're not allowed to buy that. No, you can't be investing in this or whatever. Because, if we're going to give you this basic income, we must have the authority to control it. We also give you free healthcare. So when we tell you to line up and take this injection, you need to take it because, you're going to be a problem to the system. You're going to be costing us more money if you don't follow what we say you should follow. So we control your healthcare, we control your money, we control your access, we control your life. Your kids can't go to school unless you be a part of the system and make sure you're doing what we say. So they're crowding out any kind of independent thinking, any kind of independent action, any kind of independence. They don't want ordinary people to be independent. The only people who be independent are the oligarchs, the few sitting at the top, and the puppets that they use to manipulate us in their government. And so you're going to have, right now, this new CBDC will be used to destroy banking competition. There'll be no more small banks. They're all going to be pushed out of business. And a few big major banks, like in Jamaica, like NCB, which will have a special relationship with the government, they will get to still operate. The system will be gradually shrunken, and you'll have one or two or three big banks. They issue those CBDC or digital wallets for you to hold your money, and they will control now the full mass of the banking space in Jamaica. And so you're going to have the wealth be further concentrated in the hands of a few. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because this is where we are going. Yeah? This is where we're going. Is there a problem with my mic? You're not hearing me? Wow. Can you hear me? Please let me know. Can you hear me? I see some person here saying Mike. Can you hear me? Let me know, please. Somebody. Can you hear me? is my mic off? Can you hear me? Okay, so some is hearing clearly and some think it's muffled. Yeah. Okay, so some people are hearing me clearly and it's breaking up for some. Maybe it's the internet, or maybe my friends in behind the scenes are making life difficult. But yes, I'll continue and hope that you can hear me, clearly. So the yeah, so look forward. You're going to see. Just watch as the banks start to reduce, right? And as you start to see only a few being given the special privilege to issue these CBDC wallets, and we move from here. Now, government or the big banks that control it will be able to control the money supply and the interest rate. Right now, they can control money supply, they can control interest rate, right? But now, notice what Jamaica did. Jamaica gave up the government's right to own and operate the central bank. They gave that over to independent persons. They call it an independent central bank, which now is fully controlled by the global oligarchs. So when they now have this centralized digital currency, it's not even the government really that's going to be managing this. It's going to be the central banks, which are now independent of the government. So who will be then managing our money supply and our interest rate? Persons we don't even know, operating through a so-called independent central bank, will then be able to manipulate money supply. And you understand, right? If you can manipulate money supply, you can make some people very rich and some people very poor because you're manipulating the money supply. If you can manipulate interest rate, those are the two key things that affects trade in any country and between countries. And so here we are now. We're going to have our central bank being independent of the government, which means the government is truly just a puppet in all of this. They're no longer in control. They're just going to be talking heads, pretending to be in control, while their private behind the scenes hands, which will be turning on and off the money supply as they see fit, playing with interest rate as they see fit to get certain outcomes. Because listen, while you're busy going to work every day and somebody's playing with your money supply, the global money supply or the macro money supply in your country and the interest rate, that's going to affect your life. It's going to affect mortgage rates. It's going to affect the amount of money in the economy at any given time, which will cause trade to either accelerate or decelerate. It will cause you to have high inflation or stagnation, right? So all kinds of things can happen when some independent, hidden, unknown banking cartels are behind the scenes manipulating your money supply and your interest rate. So right now, they'll do everything to try to bribe you. They're going to give you free money, free currency, to say sign up for this because they know people love free. So they're going to use freeness again to destroy us. So they're going to give you some free money. It's going to feel good. You're going to say, oh, I'm getting $2,500 just to open an account. Yes, and you're hungry and licky. And you're going to take the $2,500, but what are you giving up for $2,500? You're giving up your freedom. You're selling your freedom for $2,500, which can barely buy you a dinner at a decent restaurant. Yeah, barely. So you're going to give up your freedom for $2,500. They're going to give you that to sign up. And after they've done the nice phase when they tell you the nice words and offer you the nice bribe, afterwards they're going to use force, just like they did in the recent so-called crisis. They're going to use force. They're then going to say, do it or else, right? And they're going to make it very difficult for you to survive without it. They're going to make sure the ATM is not stacked with cash much, or it's always broken down. They're going to make it hard for you to go inside to the teller to get money. You're going to have less tellers. They're going to charge you higher fees. They say, oh, if you go to the CBDC, it's free. If you keep doing it the old way, it's more expensive. They're going to apply sanctions after sanctions, regulations after regulations. make your life difficult, so you move towards getting a central bank digital currency wallet. But you must not give in. You must not allow them to pressure you into this. Just say no. That is the first step in the process to escape what they're trying to put on us. Yeah? They're going to also have what they currently have it, legal tender laws. These laws are designed to prevent or make illegal any other currency but their own. So they'll make it difficult for you to use, say, a Bitcoin or another form of decentralized cryptocurrency, which is not controlled and manipulated by a central bank authority. At least that's what we're told. So they're going to try to use regulations, which they've already done, right? Right now, it's very difficult. They can lock you up easily if you try to do anything else. They might sometimes not implement the law, but they have within law now the ability to make you illegal simply for trying to find a way around their system. Yeah. So they just simply outlaw your rights and freedom. They take away your rights and freedom easily by making laws to say your rights and freedoms are nullified. You have no right to create your own monetary solutions, and they will just, put that in place. It's a law. Just like they made a law to say slavery was okay, right? So not because something is legal mean it is right, and not because something is illegal mean it is wrong. It was legal to own slaves, but it was immoral and it was wrong. Yeah, so let's not be confused by legality versus illegality, right? What we need to focus on is what are our fundamental human rights. Right now, your government is working day and night with some bad characters to take away your rights. They tried before to get the NITs to go through, and fortunately, the courts were able to say no to that. Now they're going to make NITs enforceable through the back door by saying, okay, if you come to the bank and you don't have a NITs card, it will be a longer process, a more painful process. They'll have employers that say, okay, if you don't have a NITs card, okay, we may not employ you. More of a long process. The government agencies will start the same thing. Those who have NITs cards come to this line, you get through quicker. If you don't have a NITs card, go to that line and take forever until you're so tired, you just give up and go to the line, get your NITs card, and move on. That's what they're doing to us. But let us not drop our guard. That is why the UIC is here. We are here. We are here to solve this problem. The UIC is here to solve the problem, but we need your help to do it. You have to decide that you want a better life, that you want a better future, and that you want Jamaica to be a free country. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Don't just hope and pray that somehow this goes away. It's not going to go away. The only way for this to stop is if we stop it. And the funny thing is, we can stop it. We are greater than them. What they have, it's 63 men and women sitting in a little house saying that they are lords and governors. 63. That's all it is. 63 men and women sitting in a building saying that they have the power over 3 million people. It's so funny, and you might laugh at this, right? And I laugh sometimes too, but when the whites were in control of Jamaica, when the white people were directly here with slaves, you would have, 15 white men and women having control over 200 black slaves. How is that possible? How is it possible for 15 persons to be able to have control over 200? Yeah, it's still happening now. We have 63 men and women sitting in our parliament, having control over 3 million people. If you take out the young people, it's 2 million, roughly. Yeah. It's time for us to stand up. stop being wimps, stop being careful, stop being cowards, stop being fearful, and say, we're going to stand up and take back our country. Stop saying, people are born GLP and born PNP and all kind of foolishness. Let us now say, we're done with that. We are done with being GLP or PNP. We are Jamaicans. And we are committed now, and we're ready now to take back our country, lock, stock, and barrel. So when I go out there, when I talk to our friends, our neighbors, and to listen, it's time for us to join hands in the UIC and go against all the odds, get around the CVM blockage, get around the TVJ blockage, get around the Observer blockage, get around the Gleaner blockage, and go straight, live and direct to our neighbors, our parents, our children, our siblings, our co-workers, by God, our enemies. Go to every one of them and tell them, I am going to join the UIC and I'm going to fight for my right to be a free man in my own country. I will not listen to the foolishness and the lies and deceptions of the PNP or the GLP anymore. They have lied to us for 78 years, and we will not allow them to lie to us again another day. They will not trick us with their handouts and giveaways just before elections to win our votes again, and then give us 5 years of torture, and then come at the end and friend us up again and get us to vote for them again. We will not allow it. Can we do that? Can we do that? Can we decide that we are not going to allow the PNP and the JLP to win again? Can we make that decision? Can we? And they will win again, if we allow it. We know that there are some of us out there who are licky-licky and not thinking, not reasoning. So they need a talk. They need us to come to them. Right? And by us, I mean you, me. Right? All of us, we have to go and talk to our fellow brothers and sisters. We have to go reason with them. Go sit down with them in the backyard. Go sit down in the kitchen, in the living room, in the dining room, and tell them it's time for change, real change. Tell them we only have 3 options. Option number 1 is that we don't vote. And if we do that, if we follow option number 1 and we don't vote, which is what 63% to date have done, and I can't blame them because they didn't see what else to vote for. But if we simply don't vote, if all we do is don't vote, we're not going to take any action, we're just not going to vote. If we don't vote, we're still going to have the same 2 parties doing the same thing to us that they have done before for the last 78 years. So not voting is not a good option. Option number 2 is to say, okay, I am going to continue to vote for one of the 2 evils that I know, because I'm not sure exactly what the UIC would do if they're elected. So I'm not too sure. So I'm going to stick with the devil that I know, or the evil that I know. Well, you'll still be voting for evil, and guess what? You will be continuing what you have gotten for the last 78 years. So that's option number 2. Option number 1 is for you to simply say, I'm not going to vote. It leaves you with the same thing, a continuation of the last 78 years. Option number 2, you decide to vote for one of the 2 still. That leaves you with the same outcome as the last 78 years. And option number 3 now, option number 3, you vote for the UIC and you give yourself a fighting chance for change, for real change to happen in this country. I was on a live last night where the gentleman, DJ Turtle, said to me, he said, what is it that makes the UIC different from the other 2 parties and what makes you different, Mr. Patterson, he was asking. And I didn't hesitate in answering. But tonight I want you to think about carefully what the answer is. What makes me different? What makes the UIC different? What makes me different is that when I returned to Jamaica some 11 years ago now, I could have taken the easy path, the self-sustaining path, the self-opportunistic path, and join one of the two major parties and easily sail into politics and find myself in government and having access to our tax dollars and having prestige and power because of that. I could have taken the easy path and do that. But I'm not here simply to get into politics. I am not a politician. I'm not trying to be a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I'm involved in this 100% for the betterment of my country, for the betterment of my people, so that Jamaica, under God, may actually be a safe, clean, and orderly country where every single citizen can live, earn, and retire with dignity in liberty. That's what I want to see. I want to get rid of the poverty that plagued my mother for so many years. I was fortunate. I was very fortunate because during my travel through the path of poverty, I got lucky at some key points. I got lucky when my next door neighbors, a white family that happened to like me for whatever reason, gave me a big book. And that big book opened my eyes to many things, gave me a worldview that was different from the norm. I was lucky that at 3 years old, my grandmother was smart enough to tell me if I want to read the comic strip, I must first read the headlines of the newspaper. And so I learned to read at a very early age, which helped me when I got that big book a few years later. I was very lucky that even though I failed common entrance twice, my teacher at the time, Miss Little, from Donovan Primary, grade 6, she looked at me with tears coming down my eyes because I know that I have truly messed up. I have failed now the second time. And she said to me, Joseph Patterson, you may have failed this exam, but you're going to pass many more and better exams. Never give up. So I was lucky because of a teacher who said that. I was lucky again when I got to Spanish Town Secondary, and a teacher said to me that, I got lucky and got a special scholarship to go to Stats. And this teacher said to me on the way out, she said to me, Joseph Patterson, you think you're so smart, but you're only smart because you're among students who are less smart than you. They're not as smart as you, so you only look smart because they're not so smart. But you're now going to a school where they're really smart kids, and you're going to see how not smart you are. Now, I was very lucky that you said that. I was lucky that I had a spirit that wasn't crushed by it. My spirit is one where when I face a challenge, I take it on. So when you tell me that I can't do something, it only pushes me to do it. And so when you said that to me and I went to Stats, I was on a mission to prove to myself that I am not just smart because I'm among people who are less smart, in her opinion. And she was wrong, by the way, because there were people there that were smarter than me. I can think of a gentleman, Peter Rumble, very brilliant guy. Unfortunately, didn't get to see his full potential because he was stuck here in Jamaica for the most part, and the system never really worked for him. He wasn't as lucky as me. But I was lucky again when I got a full scholarship from Stats to go to UTech. I mean, my mother would not have been able to afford it, and my father had no interest in my education beyond, well, he had no interest in my education, period. So I was lucky to get a full scholarship to be able to actually go to to college and to actually participate in advanced studies to see if I could make something of myself. And thankfully, I paid attention and I learned and I did well. So I got lucky, and this gave me my escape out of poverty. But there are many Jamaicans who weren't as lucky as me. The system is designed to actually destroy more of us than it actually helps. And so we now have to do much better. We have to create a better Jamaica. We have to design a Jamaica that respects the sovereignty of every citizen. We have to design a Jamaica that will become the envy of the world because of how we cherish and respect and honor and protect human dignity and human sovereignty. We must not allow Jamaica to join the march to communism, the march to dictatorship, the march to totalitarianism. We must be that one last beacon of liberty in this world. We must make America ashamed for having turned their back on such a beautiful a constitution as theirs. Instead of them building on it and allowing America to become the grand nation of liberty that it could be, they have gone backwards. They have chipped away at that beautiful constitution that had flaws, but they have chipped away at it until now they're almost completely lost. But we, the people of Jamaica, can be an example to the world. We have done it in sports. We have done it in music. We have done it in entertainment. We have done it in our production of great scholars. Let us do it now in governance. Let's show the world that we can build a governance model that truly respects and honors human dignity and freedom. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to show the world what true liberty looks like. We're going to show the world what good governance looks like. We're going to show the world how you can build a society where everyone is respected. We're going to build a society where every child has an equal opportunity to do well. We're going to build a society where if you are a hard-working individual who wants to do well, you will do well. You have to be lazy to be poor in the new Jamaica that we're going to create. So I want to encourage all of you, let us opt out of the system that is being pushed upon us. Let us build our own system, build our own monetary system, build our own education system, build our own healthcare system. And I'm serious. What I'm talking about here is us abandoning the system that is designed to destroy us while telling us it's here for us. The global monetary system has always been a fraud since the first time they introduced it in 1944-45. It was a fraud when Richard Nixon took America off the gold standard and made the entire world now a fiat currency 100%, meaning a fake currency backed by nothing but wretched, corrupt government controlled by oligarchs behind the scene. When you understand what has been done to us through this fraudulent monetary system, you will have no hesitation to take Jamaica out of that system. I know it's dangerous to say these things. I know it's anathema. It is setting yourself up. But I am inviting you to be brave. I'm inviting all Jamaica to be brave. Let us stand firm and stand fast in truth and honesty and justice. Let us decide that we will have a Jamaica that is truly free and truly independent. It's time for us to turn our backs completely now on colonialism. It's time for us to say to our children that we have waited too long, but now we're going to do what is right by you and for the next generation that comes after you. We're going to make sure that Jamaica is truly free. Yes. And so with this digital currency, the CBDC. I'm asking you, please, just say no to the government. Tell them you are not going to be a part of this treachery and trickery. You're not going to take their digital currency in the same way you're not going to take their injection, which they're still pushing. Even though there's a lot of evidence now to say that it was the wrong thing to do, they're still pushing it. Why are they pushing it? There's only one reason why they're pushing it. Because they're getting paid to push it. And we have a government that will not hesitate for a moment to sell you out. You saw what they did just recently with the so-called royal couple. What did they do? They became party to the charade. They became party to the lie. They became party to a system that continues to encourage mental slavery in our children, in our people, in our nation, the nation of Africans. They continue to play their part in instilling in the minds of our people that these so-called royals are superior to us, that they're royals. They're not royals. How are they royals? What makes them more royal than you? Really, what makes them more royal than you? Why should we be screaming? Why should we be lining up for them? How did they earn our respect? Why do we even have any respect for them? Why should we have respect for those who have benefited from slavery and continue to uphold the institutions that benefited from slavery and have not denounced it and returned the wealth that they have stolen from us and our foreparents? Why do we show them respect? And our leaders have led us to show them respect. Our leaders have even taken our money to pay to show them respect. If you can't see now, if in 2022, March 2022, you can't see now that these two parties don't mean you any good, something is wrong. Something is wrong. I know they have brainwashed us. I know they have tricked us. But the time has come for us to change. The time has come for us to say, enough is enough. We've seen it all now. We've seen it. 78 years of it. Yes, you might not have been alive for 78 years, but the history is there. If you don't even know the history, the evidence is there. Look around you. Look at Jamaica after 78 years of these two colonial parties. Look at Jamaica. Look at Jamaica. Just look around you. Look at Jamaica. Look how dirty the place is. Look how poorly designed the place is. Look how unkept the place is. Look how poor the majority of us are living. Look how destructive our education system has proven to be. Look at the social decay that you see all around you. Listen to the music and the depravity which is in it. Look at our politicians, how they live above the people as if they're gods, while they use your money to make sure they are secure. They use your money to make sure that they live in palaces. They use your money to make sure their children get the best education. They use your money to come at Christmas time and dress themselves up and show you how much they're living like the royals while you are living like the paupers. Look at it, my friends. It's time for us to wake up and stop playing games with these people they're not playing games. They are busy stealing your wealth. They are working overtime to destroy you. Look at the Prime Minister right now. He has taken our 10-point plan, he has taken the UIC manifesto, and he has gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and is now regurgitating our policies and our programs to you in different words and phrases and trying to take over the narrative so he can fool you again. The Prime Minister may not be a very bright person in terms of solving any real problems in Jamaica. He couldn't fix the economy. He couldn't fix the crime problem. He has not fixed our education system. He has not been able to fix our health. He has done nothing. Nothing much. I mean, yes, he has borrowed some money and got some Chinese to do some road for us, but that's about it. But he's very skilled at politics. He's very, very skilled and cunning at politics because he has spent the time mastering that. We're tired of politicians in this country. We're tired of people who can only win elections and fool the people. We need leaders that can build this country so that we have an economy that works for all of us instead of an economy that only serves the interest of a few of us. We need leaders who are going to take the time to understand why our students are failing, why so many are dropping out, why so many are not able to graduate at the level that they can be highly productive and competent. We need leaders who will fix that. And the UIC will do that through our LEAP program, our Learning Enrichment Advanced program. We are going to make sure we build the human capital in this country so that we become brain smart and not just there to do menial jobs. We need power in the brain. So we have to make sure our kids are eating properly. We have to make sure they're sleeping properly. We have to make sure that they have the right level of engagement and activities to be mentally and physically fit. We have to make sure that their families are such that the environment cultivates ethical and moral development in our people. We can't continue to leave our people to wallow in darkness and then come and pretty them up and fix them up and play with them and say little things here and there that will just excite them and get them to go and vote and then leave them to suffer. We need to get over this now. We need to move on from this. We have wasted 78 years. Let's not waste another one. When the Prime Minister finally calls the local government election, or when he calls the general election, however he calls any of them, we must make sure that it's the last time that they will ever again get a chance to try to trick the people. In the next election, we must give every single seat in Jamaica to a UIC government, not to continue what is there, not to continue the same old colonial system of division, but to create a non-partisan constitutional republic. Not a fake republic where we just simply change the title and keep the system that has been destroying us, but a true republic, one where the government's role is focused on protecting your rights and the constitution is designed to protect you from the government. One where we separate the Senate from the House and from the executive branch, so that all three becomes a check on the other, and we have a judiciary, a justice system, which ensures that they follow the Constitution to the letter. We must create a different economy, one where the government occupies less space and the productive people of this country gets the benefit of the monies that they have earned so that they can make investment decisions that will not only expand the economy, but will also ensure that the government has the resources to do the things that matters most. Basic things. Right now, for example, there are still many Jamaicans without a fixed address. How can you attack and fix the crime problem if so many Jamaicans do not have a fixed address? That's very basic. Very basic. Why should it take 78 years, 78 years for you to ensure every Jamaican has a fixed address? A simple thing like that. But you want to do NIDS and you want to do CBDC and you want to do all these things, and you cannot ensure that every Jamaican has a fixed address. Why is it after 78 years we don't have a proper ID system? It has to be when your colonial masters come and say, this is what you must put in now for your people in order for us to be able to manipulate them and have access to their data. No, you want to do it. Not because you want us to have a proper ID system to be effective in our own country, but because your colonial masters dictate to you that no, they want this system in place to serve their purpose. No, you want to put in a so-called national identification system. 78 years it has taken you. Why? It tells me this: we cannot trust you, we must not trust you, and we will not trust you. The Jamaican people must make a decision once and for all that they will never again trust those two parties with anything. We cannot trust them with our economy. We cannot trust them with our education. We cannot trust them with our health. We cannot trust them with our security. We cannot trust them with our border controls. We cannot trust them with anything. Nothing at all. They cannot stop guns from coming across our borders. After 78 years, they tell us they're going to know, pay gunmen for their gun. That is their solution. They go pay gunmen, buy the old gun them from them, give them money so they can go buy better guns. That is the solution. That is the crime plan of the Prime Minister. If it's not that, he must go around and lock down communities, scoop up our young men, throw them in jail for a year or whatever, further mess up their lives and create more criminals out of them. And he calls that a crime. Well, it's a crime plan. It's to create more crime. But the UIC has an anti-crime plan. Our plan is designed to create a much better Jamaica because we understand the problem. And the truth is, the problem is the two political parties and their system of governance. That is the problem. So if the Jamaican people want to solve the problem, if the Jamaican people want to solve the problem of crime, the problem of a bad economy, the problem of a lousy education system, the problem of a lousy healthcare system, let's get rid of the real problem, the cause of all of those problems. It is bad governance. And where does bad governance come from? Two things: leadership and system. Bad leadership and a bad system. And Jamaica has been blessed with both in a negative sense. We have had very bad leaders. And by leaders, I'm not talking about just one man. You might have one good man, but those around him may be a complete waste of time. They might even be planning to stab him in the back, as you have seen from time to time. So we need good leaders. We need leaders with vision, leaders with competencies that are not just based on winning elections. The competence is to actually connect with, work with, and build the people. They need a good system. You need a system which is designed to achieve the proper outcomes. And I've taken the last 10 years, before that, but specifically in the last 10, I have taken the time to build the system that we need. It is called a non-partisan constitutional republic. We're going to take out the partisan nature out of the system. We're going to take out the corruption design out of the system by giving Jamaica a brand new constitution that is written by Jamaicans, for Jamaicans, to benefit all Jamaicans. That's why we call it a non-partisan constitutional republic. We're going to get rid of the government versus opposition and create a Congress where we all sit around the table. We don't sit in Parliament as enemies. We now sit in Parliament as members of the board. You don't build a good company and divide the board in two and say one is opposition and one is government. That is destructive. A good company has a board of independent thinkers that come to the board with their respective competencies, and they sit around the board and they talk about the problem, listen to solutions from those who are a part of the executive leadership, critique those solutions, offer advice, and then monitor to see how effectively whatever the chosen path is being implemented. And they hold the executive branch of the company to account. Why do we want to run good businesses that way and not run a good government the same way? Good governance cannot be based on having warriors fighting each other forever inside of the so-called parliament. So we're going to create a Congress. You sit by alphabetical order. You're a part of the decision-making process. You're a member of the board, if you will, and you participate as a competent, independent thinker. We're going to change the system, so politicians have to be competent. We're not going to have any more numbskulls sitting in our parliament. We're going to have people who are qualified and competent to be a part of the discussions and can bring meaningful experience and dialogue to the table to help us shape policies and directions for the country. And so I'm asking all my friends out there who are listening, watching, I'm asking all Jamaicans, I cannot do this without you. CVM is blocking us. TVJ is blocking us. Observer is blocking us. Gleaner is blocking us. The radio stations generally are blocking us. So we're not going to get to the Jamaican people the ordinary way. We're only going to get to them by you helping us to get there. We'll use social media. Our candidates are all in the field doing their best. Remember, our candidates are poor Jamaicans. Them not have no money. Okay? And don't tell me that, okay, because they don't have any money, they shouldn't be a part of the political process. We cannot think like that anymore. We cannot continue to make the rich be the ones that run our political system. Let us have faith and confidence in each other. Let us invest in each other. And these young people that have stepped up to represent you, we need to support them. We need to give them our donations. We need to volunteer to help them with their campaign. We need to advise them from our experience, because some of you have experience, some of you have worked in education, you have worked in other public areas, you have worked in banking, you have worked in industry. Be a part of the team. Join these young candidates and become a part of their team. Every candidate has a team of 12. Volunteer to be a member of that team. Be an advisor. Help them with their canvassing. Help them with their speeches. Help them with connecting in the community and in understanding the various issues that you see at the community level. Let's get engaged now. Let's be a part of the solution. No more sitting on the sidelines. No more standing off and saying, let me see what am I going to do. Because what am I going to do? They can't do without you. The candidates cannot survive without you. The machinery that is funded by the PSOJ elites will crush them if you don't join them. And every time we join hands together, anytime we come together like this, see it here? That's what the logo means. This name was not picked by chance. The United Independence Congress means that. It means uniting independent thinkers in a Congress coming together, holding hands, and by joining hands, we're stronger. Joining hearts, we're stronger. Pulling our intellect together, we're stronger. Fighting for the purpose of freedom makes us stronger. Standing firm on the principles and values of individual liberty and personal responsibility makes us stronger. And so I implore you, all Jamaicans, home and abroad, get involved in the campaign. Be the voice that the CVM and TVJ and Gleaner and Observer and radios are blocking. You echo what I'm saying. You go into the byways and the highways, wherever you are. Form a committee in New York. 12 of you or so come together and say, we're going to find which candidates we're going to support. So you might be living in London right now, but you came from Tivoli. Yeah? Find the UIC candidate, write in the UIC candidate, say, who is my candidate in Tivoli? Call up your family members. And they tell, oh, I don't know about UIC, so go find out. Don't just tell me you don't know nothing. Go find out, because the powers that be is blocking it from you. You want better? Get up and go find it. Get up and go find where the UIC candidate there. Call the number, write in, come online, try to find. And then now you form a support group for that candidate. You can stay where you are in London or in Toronto or in New York or Miami or wherever you are, Brussels, who knows. You can form a small group and you can adopt 1 or 2 or 3 candidates. And you can put aside 20 euros or 30 pounds or 50 US or 30 Canadian, and all you pool together and you help 1 candidate or 2 candidates in an area that you come from, maybe in your local area. You might want to do that. Where you came from as a child. You came from somewhere in St. Elizabeth or somewhere in Westmoreland or somewhere in Betheltown in Westmoreland or somewhere in Hanover or somewhere in Portland or St. Thomas, wherever. Help. They said, okay, there's no candidate there. I found out there's no candidate there. No problem. I'm going to be a part of helping to find a candidate in that area. Yeah? Let us go find a candidate. And so let me help the UIC find somebody, an upstanding citizen. And we're not afraid of young people. We want the young people. You know why I love the young people? The young people, their minds are open. But I must tell you something. When I started this, I was told that we must focus on the young people because the older folks can't change. That's a lie. I am so impressed with the people over 40, 45, 50, 60, how their minds are so open. You know what I like? They know the past. When I talk about the 78 years of failure, they understand it. They know what the 78 years of failure is. They remember. And so they bridge the gap between the young and the old. So I have some 21, some 24, some 25, some 31-year-olds. And I have some people now who are supporting us, who are helping us. And they're 45, and they're 55, and they're 65, and they're 75. And you bring that knowledge together. That's the beauty of the UIC. We bring people together. We bring the age together, different age group. We bring the different religious groups together. We bring different cultural groups together because we're not afraid of diversity. We welcome diversity. We embrace diversity. For us, a Jamaica which is made up of Jamaicans of different shapes and sizes and colors and thought processes and ideologies is great. So we bring the person who was communist minded and socialist minded and capitalist minded together and say, put away those as the basis and focus on your right. Let us defend the rights of every man to his or her sovereignty, to his or her liberty. If we start at the fundamental level, we can't go wrong. If you build the foundation of government on protecting the rights of every citizen, you cannot go wrong. If you build the foundation on anything else, you can create a massive disaster because you may disregard the rights of the individual. Let us all come together as one people. We have our differences, and by differences I mean choices that we make, our own personal preferences. Some of us are short, some are tall, some skinny, some fat, some darker, some lighter color, some have one kind of hair, a different kind of hair. None of that no matter in the UIC. You could be Muslim, Christian, atheist, Hindu, it doesn't matter. Because in the UIC, we respect you as a human being. And the vision and values of the UIC now, we want to permeate throughout the entire country, one where we learn to respect the life, the liberty, and the property rights of each of us. No use of force, no use of fraud to get your way in the new Jamaican society. Yeah? So, somebody says some are pleasantly plump. Thank you for that. So yeah, man. So we can do this. We can do this, and I'm counting on you. I'm depending on you because I know for certain that we're no match for the PSOJ money that is out there that's going to come to these two parties. Plus, they have the tax dollars. They're using right now. The prime minister is using our taxes to bribe us. He's using our taxes to campaign to us ahead of an official campaign. And the other party has the benefit of the news media working for them. All Mark Golding has to do is to raise his head and they want to report it. So he has no problem getting television coverage, radio coverage, newspaper coverage, both of them. They're all fine with that. So we know that we're no match for them without you. The only